Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 527 by Senator Liu, enacting to Education Finance.
Senator Liu.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, SB 527 represents the Senate's plan for the education component of Proposition 47. Proposition 47 of 2014 reduced criminal sentences for certain offenses. It provides that 25% of the savings from reduced sentences be allocated to schools to reduce truancy and support students who are at risk of dropping out or are victims of crime. SB 527 establishes a planning grant program that will support development of community schools strategies to reduce truancy and support vulnerable or at-risk students. A community school strategy addresses the academic, social, emotional, physical, and mental health needs of students through coordinated alignment of integrated services, thereby focusing on the whole child. We've been working with the Assembly on the framework for an implementation of education programs pursuant to Proposition 47. As the funding scenario becomes more clear, we will work with the Assembly to reconcile our proposals and to ensure that we proceed with a coordinated approach to serve our most vulnerable students, and I ask for your support on the bill.
Any discussion or debate on the measure? Senator Morlock.
Madam President, I just have a question for the author.
Senator Liu, will you entertain a question? Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you. I'm just curious about the interconnectivity with Proposition 98. Is this money coming out of the general fund, or is this coming out of the Prop 98 side of the ledger?
Not Prop 98. This is savings out of Prop 47.
So we're going to spend general funds for more education?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Nielsen.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this bill apparently provides that Prop 47 monies that would be saved would be used for this purpose, or it says other funds appropriated and enacted in 2015 or 16. I guess that's where that money is going to come from. There'll be some appropriation bill, because as far as I am able to discern, there is no savings accruing from Prop 47. That was a false promise. The voters were false promised in many ways with Prop 47. It was going to be the Safe Neighborhoods Act. It's proving to be all but that, Safe Neighborhoods Act. And it has not resulted in great acceleration of treatment opportunities in our neighborhoods, because there's been no peace dividend, so to speak, no great dollars freed up to be redirected into our communities for treatment. And in fact, significantly, it has really undermined, and just ask your judges in your superior courts how Proposition 47 has undermined the drug courts that have worked good for nearly 3 decades. How? The drug courts have worked because the individual placed into this alternative sanction in the community, if they are engaged in their treatment and the probation officer brings them into the court and the judge says, and I've been in these courts and helped start the drug court in Butte County some 30 years ago, Your Honor says, probation officer, how's he doing? Oh, doing very well. Oh, good. Well, we'll see you again in 3 months, and maybe we'll then relinquish this jurisdiction and he'll be done. Or the probation officer says, oh, he's doing very poorly, not going to treatment, etc. And he says, well, bailiff, take him through that door. In other words, he goes back into custody. There is a consequence. Now, none of these inmates or these parolees opt for drug court. Why? Because all they have to do is take their sentence, which would not keep them in jail for more than a day or two because of the overcrowding. They're back on the streets, and there is no requirement that they go into any treatment at all. So they get a free ride because of Prop 47. It has defeated this purpose. My point here is that this is a false promise. As Prop 47 was a false promise, this just continues that false promise to the citizens of California and to those who should have been treated and really won't be now.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Jackson?
Thank you, Madam President and colleagues. I would have to respectfully disagree with my esteemed colleague. Prop 47 was passed by a will of the people of this state because they were tired of an old system that wasn't working, but that was costing the state enormous amounts of money. Prop 47 is a different way of looking at how we reform those who find themselves in the criminal justice system. And contrary to the representations made, the data from which the kind of anti-Prop 47 rhetoric is coming just simply is not accurate and has not been proven. So I would suggest at this point in time that we let the will of the people be heard here in trying to find other ways to deal with people who are incarcerated, people who are lawbreakers, so that we can reduce that level of lawbreaking behavior, reduce the amount of money that we literally waste in a system that has failed us, and listen to the people of California in trying these other approaches, which take a more holistic view of what it will take to remove people from criminal behavior and put them on a path to be good citizens for the state of California. So with that, I would like to suggest this measure moves us in that direction. I think it is a positive step with the savings that we are seeing and will see going forward. This is something that we must try in order to reduce what has been horrifically awful results at great expense to the people of our great state. I would urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Senator Leno?
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank Senator Lieu for bringing the bill forward. I don't know that we need to reopen the debate on Prop 47. It is a decided law here in California. Voters passed it by nearly 60%. That's not what this bill is about. This bill recognizes that a child who becomes chronically truant is more likely to fall behind in his or her studies. In fact, sometimes the die is cast by first or second grade. It's really heartbreaking because these kids will never catch up when they're missing upwards of a quarter, if not a third, of the school year by first or second grade. They cannot read, they cannot write, they're not going to catch up, they're going to fall behind, they're not going to attend classes, they're going to drop out. A student without a high school diploma has a much higher likelihood of entering into our criminal justice system. In fact, 75% of our state inmates are high school dropouts. So to the degree that we can set some requirements and standards, which is what Senator Lieu's bill does, to address a grant program already established by the voters using savings of Prop 47, we can help prevent students from falling into the trap of truancy, not getting their high school diploma, and becoming part of our criminal justice system. It makes great sense, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Senator Stone?
Thank you, Madam President. I respectfully disagree with the last two speakers with respect to this item. I haven't certainly seen savings of Prop 47 funds in my county, in the county of Riverside. In fact, I can tell you that we've seen significant recidivism of crimes, including grand theft auto, where a person, because of Prop 47, goes into a local jail instead of the state prison, and through the revolving door of justice, the same criminals are coming through 4, 5, 6 times. There's just no deterrent. And I think it's a mockery, the way that we allow titles of initiatives to go on the ballot that mislead the public. And while, yes, the public did endorse Prop 47, but I think if they knew that we were going to be decriminalizing heroin, we were going to be decriminalizing methamphetamine, I don't think that the public vote would have been as the way it is. But I can tell you in Riverside County, Prop 47 is costing us a lot of money in recidivism, revolving door of justice, and for those reasons, I must oppose this an urgent no vote.
Senator Leno, for what purpose do you rise?
To speak on this bill, colleagues, Never in my 8 years here in the Senate have I spoken twice on a bill, but I cannot let the most recent misinformation stated on this floor not go unchallenged. Prop 47 did not decriminalize heroin. It's just irresponsible to put such comments out when they are not true. It changed the crime from simple possession of drugs from a felony to a misdemeanor. Voters knew what they were doing when they passed that. And the reason they did is because they understood that in the 13 other states that are recognized as misdemeanor states, meaning simple possession of drugs are recognized as misdemeanors, not felonies, those 13 states have lower rates of drug use, higher rates of drug treatment participation, and even lower rates of property and violent crime. Those are the facts, and that's why voters changed the crime of simple possession, including heroin, from felony to misdemeanor, did not decriminalize. The jury is still out on why in some pockets of the state there has been a slight uptick of certain kinds of crimes, but we cannot determine it yet. I could be here to tell you we know definitively, because of the high rates of poverty and because of the loss of income purchasing power from flat salaries and wages over the past 3 decades, that's the reason. We can't say that because we don't know it. It's a complex equation. We'll know more a year or two out relative to Prop 47. But to say something so unfactual cannot go without some response.
Senator Anderson.
Senator Stoney has mic up first.
I'm the presiding officer, and I've recognized you.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much for that recognition. It's always a pleasure on this floor to be recognized. I think that we can quibble over meth and other drugs, but the one thing that we know for a fact is there was a tremendous ripple effect of Prop 47. And this legislature tried to close loopholes on predators that use date-rape drugs. In fact, we passed it overwhelmingly. 118 out of 120 legislators voted for that bill. And there was no votes. I believe the 2 members that didn't vote for it were absent that day. And yet, even when we try to close the gap on predators who use date-rape drugs, the governor vetoed it. And he vetoed it because he said he didn't want to fill the prisons, it would be too costly. So when you're thinking in terms of Prop 47, there are ripple effects. And then when we tried to do a veto override on this floor, we didn't have the conscience to move forward and actually do a veto override. So when we talk in terms of what's factual about Prop 47, when we get up and we say, this is what the voters wanted, I don't know that we can say what the voters wanted. I don't know that we know all the ripple effects. We certainly understood there was a problem that needed to be addressed. And I think that's the issue with this bill, that in the 58 counties, not every county is having a positive reaction to Prop 47, and that's why many of us won't be able to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Stone.
Thank you, Madam President, and I certainly enjoy debating my fellow colleagues, especially my fellow colleague from San Francisco. When I say decriminalize, when you look at heroin, and certainly in the past, it still remains what we call a Schedule I drug by the DEA, which means it has no medicinal value and has significant abuse potential. And by decriminalizing, I mean taking it from a felony to a misdemeanor where somebody basically gets a ticket. I can tell you in my county that there are parents finding their kids, in their bedrooms with hypodermic needles in their arms, and their kids are dead. And it's because we have taken away the consequences of the public utilizing these dangerous drugs and decriminalizing them, making it a ticket versus going to the state penitentiary and trying to have consequences for these horrific crimes that are killing our youth. And so I wanted to clarify what I meant by decriminalize. It means you're not going to go to the state pen. It's not a felony. We just basically write you a ticket for a very heinous and a very dangerous crime that is killing a lot of people, especially in the inner cities. And again, that's why I'm going to vote no on this.
Thank you, and I would remind all of us on the Senate floor that the discussion and debate really should be restricted to the content and intent of the current bill on the floor, not the ballot initiative itself. Senator Hancock.
Thank you very much, Madam President. You practically took the words out of my mouth. Members, as we used to say in the old days in the State Assembly, read the bill. This is not a bill about Prop 47. Prop 47 was passed by an overwhelming majority of the people of California, and it is not about writing tickets. It's about at least a year in county jail, which last time I looked would disrupt people's lives and be quite a bit of punishment. So let's talk about this bill. We're going to have at least $30 million from Prop 47 coming up this year. And this bill proposes setting up a system of what's often called community schools, full-service community schools that provide our young people, many of whom are at risk, with health services, after school, enrichment, the kinds of things that will break the school-to-prison pipeline and set up a healthy future for California's young people. So I urge you to pass this bill and set up a framework for a really excellent expenditure of funds to benefit all of our young people.
Any further discussion or debate on the measure? Any further discussion or debate? Hearing and seeing none, Senator Liu, please close.
Thank you, Madam President. I think it's been well said. This is just simply established as a planning grant for schools to apply with the proceeds savings from Proposition 47. So I ask for your support on the bill.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. No. Bates. Bell. I. Berryhill. Block. I. Cannella. De Leon. I. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Galgiani. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Hueso. I. Huff. No. Jackson. I. Lara. I. Leno. I. Leyva. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. No. Morell. No. Wynn. Nilsson. No. Pan. I. Papley. I. Roth. I. Runner. Stone. No. Vidak. No. Wykowski. I. Wolk.
Please call the absent members.
Bates. Berryhill. No. Cannella. Galgiani. Wynn. Runner. Wolk.
Ayes 24, noes 10. The measure passes. File item 57, pass on file. File item 58, Senate Bill 563. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 563 by Senator Pan, enacting to workers' compensation.
Senator Pan.
Thank you, Madam President. Senators, SB 563 prohibits workers' compensation payers from incentivizing their reviewers to deny requests for medical treatment. For example, by hinging their compensation on the amount of denials, delays, or modifications, or the amount of savings that they would acquire for the payer through such denials. While most agree that this kind of incentive is unacceptable, there's no explicit prohibition against this practice in statute. Therefore, this bill simply codifies the prohibition and ability of the Division of Workers' Compensation to enforce it. The current language was provided by the Department of Industrial Relations and will increase accountability and transparency in California's workers' compensation system. And we appreciate their assistance in helping us and working with us on these issues. We have committed to work with the employer community on addressing their concern related to the confidentiality of proprietary information now able to be reviewed by the administrative director going forward. And as we continue to hear about challenges to accessing care within the system, in addition to increasing frictional administrative costs SB 563 will allow the division to better track money being spent while ensuring that injured workers are not subject to poor payer practices and that they receive necessary and timely medical treatment that will allow them to return to work. Thank you, and respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Any discussion or debate? Senator Stone.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to thank the senator from Sacramento for bringing this forward. I believe every worker in the state of California deserves to have the appropriate treatment for the appropriate injury, and no physician or no person reviewing cases should have any financial incentives that save, for the sole purpose of saving an insurance company or an entity money at the expense of making sure that those employees have rightful health care. Those incentives should not exist. It certainly goes contrary, certainly to the Hippocratic Oath, and I want to thank the senator. I urge and I vote.
Thank you. Any further discussion or debate? Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, Dr. Pan, would you like to close?
I want to thank my colleague from Temecula and urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. I. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Wesso. I. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lutta. I. Leno. I. Leba. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. Morrell. I. Wynn. I. Nilsson. I. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. I. Bidak. I. Wykowski. I. Wolk.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The measure passes.
Morlock, aye.
Go ahead. Add it. Ayes 38, noes 0. The measure passes. That's okay. File item 59, Senate Bill 661. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 661 by Senator Hill, enacting to excavations.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, SB 661 prevents dangerous excavation activities by clarifying the call before you dig law, improving enforcement of that law, and creating a venue for continued discussion of safety improvements. The bill is a reintroduction of SB 119 that was vetoed by the governor in October. Last year's SB 119 was the result of extensive meetings with dozens of excavators, utility operators, agencies, and associations who were able to come together for the common purpose of making sure everyone who went to work could come home safely. The governor's veto of the bill had less to do with the policy and more about the way in which the policy should be administered by the various state agencies who have excavation safety responsibilities. The governor's office is in discussion with these agencies, and I am in conversation with the governor's office. The Senate overwhelmingly passed SB 119 in September, and I respectfully ask that you vote aye again on SB 661.
Thank you, Senator. Any discussion or debate on the measure? Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. I. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Wesso. I. Huff. I. Jackson. Lada. I. Leno. I. Leba. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. Morrell. Wynn. No. Nilsson. I. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wykowski. I. Wolk. Morlock, no.
Call the absent members.
Bates. Jackson. I. Morrell. No. Walk.
Ayes 35, noes 3. The measure passes. File item 60, Senate Bill 702. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 702 by Senator McGuire, an act relating to employment.
Senator McGuire.
Well, good morning, Madam President. Good to see you. Almost 40% of all California pears shipped to the fresh market come from the beautiful county of Lake, located in Northern California. Lake County pears are known as some of the best in the world. And for generations, Lake County residents have worked the pear harvest to ensure that those sweet and juicy delicacies can be delivered to store shelves around the nation and the world. The pear picking season lasts only 4 to 6 weeks around August of each year. And this is when harvest is at its peak and competes with the other top industry in the county, tourism, making labor in the county extremely limited. To add to the summer problem, we saw the third largest wildfire in California's history strike Lake County this year, the Valley Fire. And because of the construction jobs needed to rebuild 1,900 homes and businesses, there will be even more significant shortages of labor. And due to these labor shortages, SB 702 extends the state exemption that allows 16 and 17-year-olds to pack pears when school is not in session in August to alleviate the summer job shortage. All work permits must be processed through the Lake County Office of Education, and it's directly supervised by the county school superintendent who supports this program, and overseen at the statewide level by the Office of the Labor Commissioner. Again, it's important to note, work permits cannot be issued during the school year, which means students cannot work when school is in session, only during summer months. This exemption was originally passed in '96, and every extension since then has received unanimous support from both houses. SB 702 would simply extend the sunset until January 2027. 702 has broad and bipartisan support, and Madam President, I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Senator Lara.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in support of SB 702, and I want to thank my colleague from Humboldt County for clarifying that we want to make sure that these 16 and 17-year-olds actually are in school, that they're not missing any instruction while they're working packing the pears, and I just wanted to make sure we had those assurances. And I know that the County Office of Education oversees the project, so I rightfully ask for your aye vote on this bill.
Thank you. Any further discussion or debate? Any further discussion or debate? Hearing and seeing none. Sir, would you like to close?
Thank you, Madam President. I want to say thank you to the Chair of Appropriations as well as Chair of Labor for all their work on this issue. Would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Gaines. Aye. Galgiani. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wesso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lara. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leba. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Aye. Pan. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk.
Call the absent members, please.
Bates. Berryhill. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Pan. Aye. Wolk.
Ayes 38, no 0. The measure passes. File item 61, pass on file. Colleagues will return to privileges of the floor. Senator Lara, for what purpose do you rise?
For the purpose of introduction,
Please proceed.
Madam President, I want to take a second to introduce somebody who's very near and dear to my heart, who's celebrating his birthday this week. my father, Venustiano Lara, who's here visiting today. He's going to be 73 years young on Thursday, and a proud immigrant to this country and a proud Democrat. And I just want to have an opportunity to say thank you, Dad, happy birthday, and I'm very proud to be your son.
Happy birthday. Senator Hernandez, for what purpose do you rise?
Yes, and I'd like to just follow up, and I'd like to welcome your dad to the floor, and I'd like to say that you've raised an incredible son. Quiero decir algo en español, que ustedes tienen un hijo muy bueno y un feliz día de Navidad, de su salud, y gracias por estar aquí. Un día de su cumpleaños, y mucho gusto estar aquí en California, en el Capitol. Gracias.
Thank you. Senator Hancock. Senator Hancock, colleagues, we're still under privileges of the floor. And Senator Hancock, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I rise to commemorate another birthday today, but do join in wishing Mr. Lara a very, very happy birthday, and that we're honored to have you here and to have your son in our legislature. He does a great job. But I also want to recognize that last Saturday, January 23rd, was the 5th annual Ed Roberts Day in the state of California, commemorating the birthday of a constituent and a pioneer in the disabled, the movement for full inclusion of individuals with disabilities in our society. Despite being paralyzed from the neck down as a result of contracting polio as a teenager and having to spend at least 8 hours a day in an iron lung his entire life, Ed Roberts never lost sight of his goal of getting an education and leading a full and vibrant life. Ed was the first significantly disabled student to attend UC Berkeley. In fact, he used to have framed on his wall the headline from the Daily Cal saying, as a result of his lawsuit, he had to sue to be admitted, Cal forced to accept hopeless cripple. Well, he went on to get both a bachelor's and a master's degree in political science, to found the first Center for Independent Living, and those centers have now spread across the state of California. In 1976, he was appointed by then-Governor Jerry Brown as the director of the California Department of Rehabilitation, the same department he had had to sue to get the help of in-home supportive services when he was a Cal student because they said that he was too disabled to ever hold a job. He went on after that to co-found the World Institute on Disability. Ed was also my neighbor for many years, and I was able, through friendship with him, to watch the disabled movement grow from a good idea and one person's struggle for equality to a movement that literally has changed the possibilities of life for billions of human beings on our planet. And I know that the movement expanded from physical disability to developmental disability. We are coping with those issues right now, still as a community, to adequately give supports to the people who need them. But having just celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, today seems like a good day to recognize the contributions all disabled Californians make to our state, our country, and the world, and say happy birthday to Ed Roberts. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention, Senator. Colleagues, will return to motions and resolutions. Motions and resolutions. If anyone has requests an adjourn in memory motion, this would be the time. Senator Glazer, for what purpose do you rise?
Adjourn in memory.
Thank you.
Madam President and members, I rise to ask the Senate to adjourn today in the memory of Deborah Criswell of Orinda, who passed away unexpectedly on January 8th, 2016. Debbie, as she was known to many of us here in the Senate and around the Capitol, worked as the governmental affairs executive for Merck and Company. She was born in Burlington, Vermont on August 5th, 1954, and later became a resident of Syracuse, New York. Debbie is the daughter of Alan and Laura Smith, and she had two siblings, Linda Smith and Pam Beckerman. Debbie attended Nottingham High School, where she was a cheerleader. She earned her bachelor's and master's degree from Ohio State University, and she began her career as a social worker with Big Sisters. She later worked as a governmental affairs professional for various organizations. In her 12 years at the Pharmaceutical Research Manufacturers of America, she served as policy director in their Washington, D.C. office, and later relocated to California as regional director, where she coordinated all of the industry's legislative efforts for the western part of the country. Her career path eventually led to Merck, where she worked for over 2 decades, promoting important healthcare policy and legislation across the Pacific states. To her work colleagues, she was a dear friend, a mentor, a team advocate, and was known as the heart of the team. Debbie knew the nuances of the pharmaceutical industry and used that knowledge to help drive change in how California state government works with industry. Debbie is survived by her husband, William, and her stepchildren, Ryan and Lindsay's fiance, Chris Ingram. In her spare time, Debbie enjoyed music and reading and golf and Napa Valley, especially Meadowood, the wine tours and the wonderful restaurants. She enjoyed vacations to warm climates and making others laugh and spending time with many loved ones. I would ask today that we adjourn in memory of a wonderful person, Debbie Criswell.
Thank you, Senator. Please bring her name forward so the desk can enter her name in the journal, and we extend our condolences to her friends and family. Any other items under motions and resolutions? Hearing and seeing none, if there's no other business, Senator De Leon, the desk is clear.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, we will reconvene tomorrow, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you very much.
The Senate will be in recess until 3:30 p.m., at which time the adjourned motion will be made. We will reconvene Wednesday at 10 a.m.